Yeah. So, firstly, to begin with, we are going to start with Python course. And in this, before the start, it's better to discuss about the content and what are all the things that we are going to cover in this course. So, we'll be covering Python in depth till basics, oops, which is actually necessary for getting into big companies and organizations. And then we also talk about efficiency. I mean, uh, we can do a program using a lot of different methods. So in Python, one of the great feature of Python is we can do every other possibility of a program in some 5 or 6 ways. So we'll talk about that, which we cannot get this multiple ways of doing in any other institute because they'll not be working on real time. And we also talk about we do have the entire course prepared in such a way that it is understandable for a naive listener. Let's say a person who is actually doesn't who doesn't have any experience in Python at all. So this content entirely uh, is prepared on based on people of that kind. I hope it will be useful for you. So this content will be shared, and then we do have a public Git repository. For every batch, I'll be maintaining one repository. Unfortunately, you cannot clone that Git repo, but you can download whatever you find over there. So this is one of the previous batches Git repository. I'll be creating one for us for sure. So in this, we'll be having two different kind of things. One is PPTs, apart from the content that we supply. PPTs do make it a very flexible to learn. I mean, to navigate to a specific topic, and it's a concise level of thing where you find it's not like a content a descriptive manner. So what we will find here is I personally executed everything in Python interpreters with examples. If you want to work on string operations, let us say, when you're actually working on real time, there is you stuck on somewhere where you need some string operations to be manipulated. So you can just quickly traverse to this slide instead of going to that Word document or searching for that. You can just have a look at the examples where we executed everything with the outputs and inputs. So it will make you more flexible and easily understandable, easily navigating. So that's about the PPTs stuff we have here, and we also have um, we need to make sure that you are in line with the way I'm teaching, right? So we do have specific tasks provided inside the Git repo. So the tasks will be uploaded weekly and evaluated the next week. If the tasks are uploaded this week, we can evaluate the tasks. We can discuss over them if you have any doubts in the next week. So this is how we plan to go to move forward. Yeah. Okay. So coming back to our course, Python is we cannot just say that it's a language which demands oops. We cannot say that it is a language related to scripting or a backend or a front end. It's a kind of you can use it everywhere, anywhere for anything because the architecture is built like that. So you need to understand what the architecture of Python, which really makes it an awesome programming language all across the world. So we are not going to just concentrate on the introduction part. This works like this, and so you can just work in this way, not like that. So we are also going to sort out the reason of why it is like this. For example, we say, ooh, yeah, we say that oops is already inbuilt in Python, right? So we're going to show you how it is actually inbuilt. and then we're going to reason it everything, and then we'll be moving forward. So can you
Somebody
unmute yourself?
joined.
Yeah, waiting for entering their name. Yeah.
Okay.
This GoTo meeting will detect every minute noise. So can you please unmute yourself, everybody? So if ever you have a doubt, you can just unmute yourself. Till then, can you mute yourself?
రావట్లేదుగానే
Uh,
మైక్రోఫోన్ రావట్లేదు.
Hello, Srinivas. Kishan, meanwhile, can you stop the recording? Or
yeah, sure. I pause. Okay. So what are the versions of
you
Python?
can
Currently,
also mute. Pawan.
yeah, he's mute. He's on mute now. So there are two versions available currently for Python. One is second version. The other is third version. So second version is more or less like uh, every other programming language. It means the architecture is not such a matured one, and it's not like it is a great tool, get a great level architecture visible, but it's not a completely compatible one with everything. So it is like giving a free hands on for on everything, so that we using two we can protrude into standard antivirus tools also. So there are some basic changes that are needed to actually make it look as a programming language. So during the days where two version is released, it doesn't have any coding standards that it follows, that it has to be. A programming language has some coding standards. So they wanted to improvise those. And then all the companies are already using second version already at that time. So if they release an update with embedding all the
Hey,
yeah.
Kishan, what about first version?
No. Actually, it started like this. It started like 1 point version where they found many bugs. Version by version, they were fixing all the bugs, and then they entered into two version. So one is nothing but the advancement of. I mean, two is nothing but the advancement of one version. So they thought two is okay, but then this language is not following certain coding standards. We'll come across them. So if a language does not follow in any coding standards, but then it is working as it is, as its own wish. So what happens is, for example, I'll tell you a simple scenario. So if you're having an antivirus in your system, it will look for a new for any other software which is actually coming for the first time in your system. Let us say you're having some BAT file, we call it as batch file. It will every batch file or a software or an exe file, let us say, it will have three components: a header, body, and tail. So your antivirus first checks off for header. This header section, if it is clean, it will check for the bridge between header and body. If it is clean, only then it will try to deploy that exe file to try to run it. So if your Python second version you are using and the exe is made out of Python 2 version, there is something called print function, let us say. Print is not at all function in Python, and your antivirus only checks for functions, packages, modules, like that. Each and every statement, it doesn't have 100% capability to judge every statement. So if print is given as a statement, it just most of the antiviruses, it just leaves out, thinking that print is just a print, it doesn't harm the system. Like that, there are many other things which were not used as functions in Python 2. So it is very easy to manipulate the antiviruses. So this is one very simple example. Like that, there are many other things that made the author of Python to think over of releasing third version. But then what happened is already many companies are using second version. If they upgrade the second version, see, the main concept here is whatever that are causing disturbances are need to be eliminated. Otherwise, it's again a policy violation, right? So if they eliminate it, the persons who are using second version will be affected. Their programs will stop running. So what they have done is parallelly they have released third version by eliminating one by one whatever the changes that are need to be done. So gradually all the companies started inheriting third version, and by 2020 they have made up their plan to completely wipe out second version. Most probably there will be only one version that is going to be released as an update of second version. That too, it's not confirmed. So having said that, there are two versions available currently in the market. We'll be seeing on how to work on those. But first and foremost, in order to know about Python, we need to get Python. Python.org is the best place to explore everything about Python, because if you're about to search for some corner of a code in Java or in any other language, C or C sharp, anyone. So best place would be different kinds of blogs, Stack Overflow, Stack Exchange, like that. But then Python is in completely open source. So out of some 1 million users, let us say 100 million users in the entire world, everybody can be a contributor. So in that place, if I do some modification which is helpful for others, and if I want that to be posted over there in the blog in python.org, so I can just mail them by saying this is what I have done, and they'll review the code. And then what I need to do is I just need to post it in Stack Overflow or Stack Exchange, and users get started with that. They'll be using it too. After it is approved, it will be created in a section of docs. A separate page will be created for you, but your name will not be there because it's an open source again. So you're just helping out to the entire world. That's it. So there will be a separate section created for you. So it's like a very bulky, huge documentation that you can carry forward. So it is always recommended to have only one place to have a genuine documentation, unlike the other courses, because it is exponentially increasing. The documentation is exponentially increasing because it is the developers, the core team of Python developers are none other than us, whoever wanted to improve Python for our lifestyle, to improve our lifestyle. So the best place to find everything about Python is python.org. You can have almost every update available posted over here. So before that, let us just download the Python software. Just a second. Yeah. So I already have Python 3.6. If you see here, till the last week or so, we are having two buttons here: 3.6.5 and 2.7 or 7.14, maybe 1.5. Yeah, 1.5. So it was already removed. It's an indication that they're going to actually remove this software totally. So these are all different compatibility options available for this particular revision. So you can just go ahead and download the software of your choice. So most probably it's Windows 8.6 64 MSI installer for your systems will be Windows, right? So it is just an installation, just like every other software. You can just push on Next. But let's see. Yep. So while we wait for the installation to be completed, we'll just go ahead and discuss something more about Python. So Python is what makes Python more compatible and flexible, or more choosy when compared to other languages. First one is it is a portable language. It is efficient. So what do you mean by this portable thing? So whenever there is a tool available in the market, a new tool which is available in our market, let us say something related to big data, which actually in the market. Yeah,
Kishan,
yeah.
are you going to explain architecture, Python architecture?
Uh, Actually, it's kind of a language where I'm going to show you the architecture, how it is built on, but not now. We have to go it in handy. I mean, if I say about data types, I'm going to show you how the data types are created, and then I'll
Okay,
stop. And when
okay,
I'm discussing about the loops, I'm going to show you how what is the background of loops, what made them like this in Python, how it is different from other languages like that.
okay. You will explain it later, right?
Uh, Bit by bit, piece by piece. You'll also
Okay, okay,
get it in this class, a part of it.
okay, okay. Fine.
So it is done, and then portable in the sense we can use this language in any other OS, irrespective of the OS or software or a plugin. So if you speak of a tool that newly hits a market, it's a basic fundamental rule that there is a plugin that should be available for the compatibility in Python. They'll make sure of it because everybody now has needs an integration. It's like in the other days, in the olden days, it's like maybe 10 years back. If we have a tool, we are concised to make our operations inside that tool. If at all we need that output to be manipulated using another tool in the scripting language, we used to take that output into a file, and then we need to connect to that other programming language to manipulate it. But that's not how these days. So we have plugins for everything. We can manipulate things for everything. And Python is efficient. It means if you have a requirement where you write about 500 lines of code in Java, you don't even need to write 200 lines of code in Python. So code efficiency, you'll get it for sure. But then um, there are some corners of Python which lag, still lag, and no one can stop it because, for example, there are some sets of uh, requirements where your program will not be so efficient when it comes to time complexity. Your program takes more time when compared to the program you run in Java, C, C++, C hash, like that. But then no one can help it. Even good evangelism, the author of Python, will not deny that fact. But because we'll come to the reasons later. Because of this, oops is inherited into the Python by default. Yeah, I'm recording this session. So, and then because of this oops, what happens is, for example, I'll tell you. If you do this, 3 plus 4 is 7. We already know. So what we think we are doing here is a is equal to 3, b is equal to 4, c is equal to a plus b, print c. So what we are doing here is we assume that we are just like any other language. We are assigning the value 3 to variable a, the value 4 to variable b, and value the sum of this a plus b value to c, and then we are printing c. But that's not what it actually happening in Python. So if it is this case, like this happens in C language, let us say, it is more efficient because there is a variable in your storage location, let us say heap or stack. or queue, let us say stack, and you're just directly hitting that variable and assigning it to 3, and then you're getting it. So it's just a one IO operation. Please raise your just ask me to explain one more time if you don't understand, because this session is not for me, for everyone. So if you assign A to 3 inside your stack, it's a one IO operation. It means one time your RAM has to take out this 3 and allocate it to A. That's it. End of story. But in Python, if you for example, there are a few data types in Python I want to speak about. First one is integer. So when I tell that a is equal to 3, if it is a C language or Java language, I need to declare a is equal to int of 3. Otherwise, it cannot understand. But Python, if you say a is equal to 3, it understands and takes it as an integer. So when I said that previously it's not one IO operation, what it is, I'll show you. Um, if you see here, there are two things I displayed here. Type of integer. It means what type of the I mean what this data type belongs to the type. It is class. It means every data type that we use in Python is created as a class at architectural level. For example, if you see here, this is not at all available in any other language. They will not disclose you how their data types have been manipulated. But in Python, if you see here, this data type has been assigned with all these dunders. We call these things as dunders, or more precisely speaking,
Maximize the shell.
sorry.
Maximize the Python shell.
Yeah, sure. So
You need to say Python is type inherent language.
can you repeat it again? Your voice is a bit low.
Type inherent. Ishan,
Yes, can you repeat it?
Python is a type inherent language, right?
Type inherent in the sense it's not completely. Yeah, they have declared each and every data type and assigned their properties, and those properties are open to everybody to access, but only again read-only access. But it's not completely a type inherent thing. Yeah. So if you see here, Um, we call it as magic methods. We Indian, I mean, in Hyderabad mostly, Indians call it as magic methods, and we also call it as dunders. So it's dunder is nothing but underscore 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 double underscores, right? Dunders we say. So this
Okay,
is yeah,
spell it that gender or
it's under dunder. This is it.
okay.
So this dunder is the main reason why we can add two integers. If you say string, you can add two string values too. So if you see here, return self plus return, right? Self plus value, right? This will be your A, this will be your B. For example, in dot. If you see here, this is the operation that actually this data type is undergoing. So whenever it comes to add, this is a bit crazy here to look at in on the first day. We'll come across the classes and then methods and then how to call method inside a class. Then you'll understand this concept. So what I'm saying for now is, if at all you can add two integers, which is possible, this is due to this magic method. If at all, and you cannot add a string and integer. So we can also try that. So let us say this is a string. String is always represented by a single quote or a double quote or a triple quote in Python. Don't worry about all these things. You don't have to carry any notebook. I have written everything here. We'll come across it. So A is equal to 2, B is equal to 3. Print A plus B. If you see here, must be a string, not int, because it is taken as a string for integer for granted, and we have declared it as a string. So this is not possible because this one is a plus operand. If we modify this method, then it will be possible, but it's not according to the coding standards again. So these are the magic methods that you have to remember to start your coding basics. Coming back, we have actually installed Python, and then I have opened something called this one. This is called idle. Ideally, for beginners, we can use idle, and where we can actually okay. First, let me come across this major versions of Python. Python, the history.
Kishan,
Yeah.
you told like in other language it is only one IO operation, right? In
Yes.
C or other languages.
Yes.
What about Python?
If you see here, if you're assigning a is equal to 2, let us say, it is getting assigned into the class of int, and that class of int has certain methods defined here, the methods that are defined here, right? So each method is this. So if you're adding two numbers, it means that you're accessing the class. When you say a is equal to 2, you are assigning the self of the method in the class int as 2, and you're trigger ready to perform any kind of a method by allocating a is equal to 2. So basically you're defining a class with name int a, and then you are assigning the class, and this your self carries the value that is 2, and then you are ready for the operations. So basically there itself declaring a class, assigning a self, and waiting for the methods. 3 IO operations are already done. So when you deal with classes as data types, this is what you get. There is a bit lag, but again there are a lot of advantages in dealing with these classes. We'll come across it later. So IO operations will be taking more of time, but then there are some other things available inside the Python itself. If, for example, if your data is too huge, where your traditional programming language cannot handle, your Python can handle. We call it as there are few other concepts like numpy arrays, where you can handle unlimited data for sure without any lag. I will come to that topics later. So how Python is actually built, whatever we are seeing now today, is like Gudav Andresam is some geek. He loves programming in C. He's an expert in C. So he thought of uh, doing some contribution to C language, because he is a hardcore programmer, a pro, and then he found a lot of bugs in C. For example, there are no other modules that are available in a compatibility mode to the modern programming standards. So if you have to link up something with Selenium using C, it takes a lot of coding again, and it is not available for everyone. He actually wanted to improve it, but then he came up with an idea: why not we have another language which is complete open source? So what he started is, in a raw form, he's got a team of about 12 purely dedicated team, hardcore developers. He took out all the possible scenarios what C is handling, this library of C, and he prepared C code as a functions and encapsulated inside an interface, and he called it as a Python. So what it is, I mean, the first version, if you say print of 2 plus 3 in Python, what he's actually trying to achieve is, this print is a function being called into some library embedded in a file. For example, okay, yeah. When you install a software, you'll get all the packages, right? So this is something we'll see for every software. So like that, when you install Python first version of Gudav Andresam, you'll find all the a lot of files like this. So when you hit print statement, it calls a function inside this file and gives an output. Like that, he has defined every other possible function that is available. It is a hectic one. It doesn't. It is not an optimized one. And then they went on revising. Uh, a pure hard work just paid off, and then they went into actual real time world. Python is a hit, and the background is still maintained as C. We call it as Python or C Python. But then oops is not in the plate of C. So C++ they have to come after. So C and C++ combination gave Python. And then there are other people who were pro in Java, and then they came up with the architecture of Java inside the Python, where the same thing happens. Whatever we have seen with C and C++, that is called Jython. And then there is another competitor called C hash. We call it as Ion Python. So now by this, what we have achieved is Python can completely replace C, C++, Java, C hash, which are the major rulers of IT market at that time. And then there are some additional things that we can achieve using Python apart from these three. One very crude example I can say is MATLAB. MATLAB is a tool used by some advanced it is used for some advanced requirements where you use it for image processing, video processing, signal processing, like that. So even that tool has some very advanced features which Python directly inherited it. So it's like Python is not a unique style language where no one can copy it. It's like a language which copies every other feature of available languages in the market. When you find a new feature inside that programming language, yes, it's an open source. We are having one. We will be copying it just as is, or in a more optimized way. Hope you're following. So what are the environments that we can actually program using Python? There are a lot of IDEs available. IDE is basically for beginners. It means when you type, I'll show you. So when you type something like print, it'll just show the syntax, the values separated by comma or a space, end is equal to new line, like that. So it is a great tool for beginners who is not well versed with the syntax and stuff. So for beginners, it is like IDE. Ideally, you can use. I personally prefer Spider. There is something called Atom. It's a GitHub tool in dedicated notepad for Python. I also use vigorously IPython. This IPython is used for data scientists. Maybe it's more generic to say data analysts. And then there is something called PyCharm. If you're developing an application like web application or mobile application, we use PyCharm. So this is basically used for application development. And there is an awesome tool called Sublime Text. To speak of it, so there is something called Notepad++, which does our job very easily in our existing notepads in Windows. But unfortunately, Notepad++ is not there in Mac OS. So Mac has got this wonderful tool called Sublime. Sublime is more awesome, 10 times bigger than whatever we have having features in Notepad++. We can use regular expressions inside Sublime Text. If you see shell scripting, if you have to access any file inside a shell, inside your shell environment, what you will do, you will just do vi file name or vim file name. Basically, we use vi editor or vim editor, which is more advanced one. So these two editors are inbuiltly fed up into this Sublime Text. We can use regular expressions to whatever the complexity we want. You can use more than 60% of all the Excel operations that we can use inside Sublime Text, except the GUI thing. Everything you can, whatever you want to manipulate. For example, if you want to add the beginning of a line, this thing, end of a line, this thing, everything is possible in Sublime Text. So it also supports Python. So you can use this. And there are a lot of other IDEs available competing with each other. That's another story. But for beginners, Ideal is the one that I would suggest. So Python is just there are two types of languages available when it comes to the way they are executing. We call them as compiler languages, compiled, and then we call it as interpreted
Ishan, what the
languages.
tool you suggested for beginners?
Beginners is
Ideally?
ideally. So whenever you install Python,
Okay.
you'll get it by default inbuilt.
Okay.
So there are two types of languages. One is compiled and the other is interpreted. So compiled language is something like you will code your script, and then in order to run your script, there is a compilation step in the middle. So your script has to be compiled in the sense it will be converted into a machine understandable language, and that compiled language will be executed again. So if you ever have executed C, not in turbo C again, normally. So if you have executed your C program traditionally, what you will do is whenever you execute it, there will be a compiled program that will come, and then you again have to feed that compiled program into your C compiler. Then if at all you have a compilation errors, you'll get a compilation error. If you do not have any compilation error, your code will be compiled successfully, and then when you feed that compiler to your program, to your compiler, then if you have a runtime error, you'll get a runtime error. So there are two kinds of errors here: compilation error and it's a runtime error. So what happens is, if consider an example where you have some 5,000 lines of code, you compiled it. That entire block will have, let us say, 50 errors. 50 times you need to compile and get an error, compile and get an error. Or what if there is a scenario where there are no compilation errors, but there are 50 runtime errors? For each and every runtime error, you need to compile it again, which is a wastage of step, right? So it takes forever. I mean, a lot of time. So it's not that I'm a very it's opposite to this compile thing, but it has its own disadvantages where we actually, I mean, the Python has decided actually to be on this interpreted level. So interpreter, what happens is it's a line by line execution. So what happens is whenever you do the code, whenever your code is completed, whenever you run the code line by line itself, it will be just piling off to your interpreter. Line by line, it is converted into a machine language. I mean, the I mean, machine understandable language, and then you'll skip this step of compilation error. So let us this Python is a very easy language. Majority of the people will be in the false misconception, like thinking that Python, which is the advanced language in the market, is very complex when it comes to Java. No, the answer, the thing is, the reality is, the ground reality is 10 times more easier than any other language that you can find outside. So what happens here is, if you want to add two numbers, you cannot do this way outside, but in Python, yes, you can. So if you want a Boolean operations like comparison operations, true or false things, yes, you can. It's like everything, most the basic simple calculus operators are basically inbuilt in Python. And then if you want to concatenate strings, firstly, in order to declare a string, there are three ways. Like I said before, a is equal to Harry is one way, a is equal to b is equal to Harry the other way, c is equal to, So these three are strings without any issues, without any errors. So are these having equal properties? Are these three classes are having equal properties? We can try it out. We can test it out. String concatenation, which is, yes, it's possible. So these three are having same inherited properties of this class. They are under the same class. So if you want to print something, you just have to print me. That's it. And then yeah, the commenting is definitely required for any Python scripting. If you're coding real time, comments are of two types here. One goes by hash followed by your comment. That is line by line comment. But then the other thing is with triple triple quotes. It is just like this type, which is yeah, this one. This one can be used for commenting and also for declaring a string. So what is the difference between hash level commenting and triple quote commenting? And at this point, I have another question. So if you're using triple quotes to declare a string, and you're using the same triple quotes to comment, does it not create a confusion?
Triple quoting is for multiple line comments.
Exactly. So triple quoting is for multiple line comments. I agree. So if you see here, if you miss one quote, it will also become green, stating that this is not finished block. If you see here, this is a finished block. So this is used for multi-line commenting. But then why do I have a conflict with this? Actually, my point is B is equal to triple quote having. If we say here, this is an interpretation of declaring a string. But then in the beginning, it is a comment. How Python is able to understand that this is used for string and this is used for commenting? Why we are having two things here? So this will be a small task for you. I'll be addressing it in the next session. It's just like it's not like you listen the class and just attend it for the next class, right? So it is worth searching for it too. And then
Kishan, why we have three types of
exactly,
declaration of strings?
yes. So
You want us to verify and come back?
okay, if you want, you can do that. But I'll tell you for this class itself.
Yeah. Okay.
For example, this is me. You can print it like this, right? So this is taking as a string, but yours lovingly, I'm trying to print. It's a syntax error because, sorry. Yeah, this is the way we have to write, right? For every string. So this will also will give you error clearly because your first single quote is a notation of end of string. So in order to escape this, there are two ways. One way is to use this double quotes so that you can print it. And then there is another way, that's another thing. So this is why to escape this conflict, we are having double quotes and single quotes. But then the triple quotes, why we are having is it has something to do with my previous question. It does have a peculiar thing related to paragraph commenting. It is related to that. So we'll cover it that in the next class, if at all you can. I believe that you'll be answering that question.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm, so the variables here that are declared inside a Python, they are not at all considered as variables in the first place. Whatever you are using inside a Python is an object. You should call everything as an object because it is not at all a normal data type anymore. It's a class embedded where it contains an object. When it comes to object oriented programming, everything is considered as an object. So
Kishan, one doubt here.
yeah.
Difference between class and object. Every time I got confused with this too.
Okay, you're already entering the whoops. Whoops is having a structure to make the peculiar script look as something which is compatible with coding standards. Whoops we follow because we need to follow some standards to achieve efficiency. That's it, a basic ground rule. So in that, there is something called class. Your class is the superior object for everything. Again, if you see, oops, everything is an object. When you speak about class, it is an object. Class has methods inside it. Each method is an object. Class has variables declared in it, static variables, dynamic variables. Everything is an object in it. So object is kind of a representation. That's it. A representation representing anything. So class is an object, method is an object, function that is used inside a class is an object again, like that. So then don't get confused with object and class. Object is something way more greater than a class here. So everything that is used inside a class is an object. So Python, as it is implemented completely with the background of
I
classes.
think,
Yeah.
Kishan, properties of an object belongs to one class, right? It always belongs to only one class, right?
No. That's not always true because the properties of one object defined in class A can be used inside another class. We'll
Yeah,
come. Yes.
if A is declared as integer, it will always integer class, right?
Of
I
course.
mean, methods.
Uh, let me explain that. So you're having class A where you have, let us say Python example, we are having integer as a class declared where in the process of, let us say A is equal to 2, we're declaring. So this integer A is accessing a global class, a reusable class, and inheriting all its properties and naming itself as A. This class A, we are using here the property of inheritance, where all the properties of available parent class are inherited into this class A. Sorry for the others if it is actually it's a new thing. If you're not acquainted with oops, we'll get back to this all everything later. But for now, so we are using the inheritance property where objects inside A, whatever you are using, will be making use of the properties of objects that are declared and the properties that are declared inside class A, class int. This is our parent. So when you declare C is equal to 5, this is again using the property of inheritance and inheriting all the properties from the parent class int. So it works like this. But here is another interesting phenomenon. If you declare C is equal to 2, let us say you have declared B is equal to some 100, you have declared all the variables, and then C is equal to 2 if you declare. So it does not create other class where it inherits this class's properties. What it will do is, yeah, this is int class. This is your A is equal to 2. This is your C. So instead of hitting this, it will directly assign its value to 2. So in order to assign A is equal to 2, we wasted some amount of space for entities, some allocated space inside your heap. Heap is nothing but a storage mechanism used in Python, unlike other languages, which is stack. So in your heap, you're having a space storage allocated for 2. So when you're assigning some other variable with the same value, it will just link out to this one. So it means if you're having 100 variables, of which 50 are pointing to a single value, you're only hitting the single spot. 50 things are hitting the single spot. This is where you get space efficiency. We'll come across all these advanced topics later. So this is one of the features that makes Python a more advanced and prioritized language. You can ask me any question if you're having any doubt in any corner till now, because classes, objects, you're all confused with it, I believe so, because you're not covered that so far. So
So my question is answered, or
yeah, I answered your question in the first point itself, right? So what happens is your class is having some objects, right? May it be a function, may it be a variable, may it be an iterator, whatever it is, it's an object. That object is confined to that particular class for sure, but the properties of that object is confined to that class itself. But then these properties can be inherited to the other classes. So
okay.
for example, if you're having class A, which A is some Z is having some properties, Z is a method, let us say, that Z is confined to class A itself. You cannot use it in other classes. When it comes to outside of that class, it will lose its property. But you can always inherit that Z inside your class B using inheritance. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. So my question is,
Okay.
object is belongs to only one class at particular point of time. Is
Yes.
it true or false?
In most of the cases, it is true, but again, if you use multi-threading, it is false.
Okay, in basic level, it is true.
Yes, it is true.
Okay, fine. You can continue.
Yeah. So the data types available in Python is integer, float, string. Okay, I'll tell you those. So integer, string, float, and then list, tuple, dictionary, set. Sorry. These are the data structures, basic data structures available in Python. So whenever you are getting a chance to get interviewed for Python developer, if it is a good company or if the interviewer is good enough, he will test three things. One is, does he have the core architecture level knowledge, which is not given in any other institutes or something like that, Amit Pet institutes or something like that. So what he will test is, he'll ask questions like, can we add two dictionaries? Simple. We cannot add. You'll say it by experience, because you cannot add it. If you test it, you will notice it. But his question is, why can we not add two dictionaries? What sort of a question is that? We'll think, is he mad, or is he new to Python? We think. But what he's trying to do here is, you need to tell this answer. There is no dunder available, or there is no magic method available inside the class of dictionary that is defined for Python. So that point he expects. So he expects you to have complete knowledge on magic methods, how the dunder works.
Kishan.
Yeah.
A difference between dunder and method is both the same.
Okay. When you speak about dunder, I need to speak about something called initializer, and then method, and then function. So if you speak about function, it's a normal function. That same function, when it is used inside a class, it becomes a method. So every class has initializer, one initializer, not mandatory thing again. It's optional. One initializer and a method. An initializer is something which starts with underscore underscore init underscore underscore. Whenever you speak about this one, whenever you declare a dunder, it has some properties of a method. It can called only once. That there are some differences between method and initializers and dunders. So method you can call any number of times, n number of times. Method, if you declare it one in a file A, from file B you can access that method, but a dunder you cannot do that. Like that, there are many differences. We will come back to this differences in oops concepts when we deal about those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So that level of understanding he expects. So we have to make sure we have that understanding. And then the next level is difference between the data types. So what is the difference between integer and a string? It's obviously we know everything. It accepts characters, it accepts numbers. Float and integer, dot, decimals. But it's not a big deal. When it comes to list and a tuple, dictionary and asset, uh, before the introduction of this Python, before the highlighting of Python in IT field, how the interviews for a big companies like Microsoft, Google, or used to be like, they used to ask you the questions for which the answers are very easy. You'll tell the answers, but then they'll ask the other way of doing it, the other way of doing it, the other way of doing it. Why? They are stretching on time complexity and space complexity. So you need to write a very efficient algorithm where in most of the cases you need to have order of log n complexity, which is the best complexity. We'll discuss about it more later. But then you need to change your logic in order to get efficiency when it comes to time complexity. But with the introduction of Python, things were made very easier. So with the same logic, if I load the data using list, that will become one logic. With the same logic, if I use tuple to load the data, I'll get the efficiency for some scenarios. So now what I can answer, I'll just use this data type with the combination of this one. Finished. You don't need to derive another logic. So why is it so powerful that with the switching of data types we are getting the efficiency? That is what we need to understand more. So this is about complex numbers. It's like a basic calculator, a Python idle, but complex numbers are also inbuilt in it. So let us say, for example, oh yeah, sorry. Yep. What's wrong with this? Oh, sorry. I forgot. Okay. Maybe this thing. We'll come back to it later. So complex numbers are actually by inbuilt carried away in Python. I don't know why it's not working. Maybe in Python 2 it will work. I executed this everything in Python. Yeah, it's working. So maybe you need to declare it by spaces. So it's like a plus jb or a plus ib is what your complex number says. So when you add two complex numbers, you will be adding real values and you'll be adding imaginary values. So x is nothing but real value plus imaginary value, real value of 3 plus imaginary value of 2. Y is nothing but 0 real value and minus 5 imaginary value. When you add these two, 3 plus 0 plus plus 2 minus 5 of j, like that. So 3 minus 3j. I hope it is clear for you. So basic addition, subtraction, and multiplication of imaginary numbers can be done using Python idle itself. That's what I wanted to say. It's another feature. So when we come to data types, I told you there is a need to emphasize more on how these data types works. So there are I can segregate these data types into two types. One is mutable and the other is immutable. Mutable data types are something where yeah. Okay, try to understand this. If you don't understand, I can explain it more. So when you say about mutable, the properties in a crude form is nothing but you can add, update, delete at any time. But immutable, you cannot do these operations. Cannot add, update, delete. Once you declare the data set, it is just that's it, a fixed one. So if you have to understand it in an architectural level, you will come back to it when you are dealing in a next level topics. But for now, you just understand it as like, for example, if I declare a tuple like this, okay, if I declare some list like this, so I can always append a value to a list. I can add 5 to this list, existing one. I can add some other value to this list. But when it comes to tuple, you cannot do this because it is immutable. Once you declare that data set, it is permanently fixed. So it means what you can make out of this sentence: whenever you declare a list, it's a contiguous memory. It's a continuous memory allocation in your heap where it is taking the space necessary for 1, 2, 3, 4 elements, but then the class of list, the class of list is tuned in such a way that the methods available here are copy, append, extend. There are these classes available inside the list, which makes it updatable. It means the storage is not fixated one. If you are updating with 100 more elements, the storage definitely is needed more. But when it comes to immutable, the storage, once you declare in the first place, it will be done. That's it. So always, what are the advantages of, I mean, why we are having these two things, mutable and immutable? One advantage is immutable is always good for traversing. It means you don't have to check every time the allocated space and then traverse in it. Once you declare a space for some, let us say in our case here, for this A tuple, you can straight ahead traverse in a continuous memory. Like I said before, A is equal to 2, you declare some other variables, some C is equal to 2 again, it is pointing out to the same memory allocation where it is dynamically changing. So it doesn't have to fetch it again for all these kinds of things. Whenever immutable type is declared, iterations will be a lot faster. It means it's like another traditional C language, like that, the operations.
Kishan, can we declare empty tuple?
Empty tuple, yes. We'll talk more about it when we are dealing with the data types.
Can we able to add any values to that empty tuple?
No. Tuple is always immutable. You cannot add anything. So there's no point in declaring tuple at all in that case.
Any pop function or delete function?
Okay, let us see. So when you're having those functions, it doesn't make it immutable at all. Immutable in the sense, will not have any of that functions. So you'll be having only iter function to iterate, length function to calculate length. That's it. So this add, do not confuse with saying that you can add elements. No, we cannot add. I'll tell it when it comes to tuples. So this is basically the reason why we can have a tuple inside a list. It means your list L is equal to 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma. You can have a tuple inside it. You can have any other immutable or mutable data set inside it. Even your tuple can have a list inside it. I hope you're understanding. But as you can see it very clearly, there is no function, there is no dunder or magic method, let us say. Let us more emphasize on that. There is no magic method to update the existing tuple. Got it?
Yes, Kishan.
So these are all the available string operations.
Then what's about set?
For your information, I did not even enter into list. We are still
Okay.
at strings. So strings are immutable. There is no char type like we see it in C and C++. So everything is like, when you say it is a char is nothing but a single length one of a string, which is having the same very properties. So I don't know why we are using these two types of data types in C. So they did not find any big deal with that. So they have taken it out in Python. And then string concatenation. The types of concatenations that we can do for strings. I also understand that this scripting language might be new for you. If you want to stop this for now, we can discuss whatever we have discussed now. Otherwise, we can go proceed later further.
We can proceed, Kishan.
Yeah, sure. So A is equal to Harry, B is equal to Terry. Let us say. So how do you concatenate these two strings? Basically, concatenating Harry and Terry, right? So we can do like,
Srinivas, you are there in call? Srinivas? Hello.
yeah. So this is a method to concatenate two strings like we do in every other programming language, but you can also do it like this, or we can also do the concatenation like this. So what are we observing here? So this add operand, basically the add dunder, I mean this one is exactly being seen here, right? When you hit this operation and this plus operation, we are basically calling this one the concatenation. But when you use this one, this is a property of tuple. I will come across it in a while. So when you tuple is a data structure where it is enclosed inside this parenthesis, and each element is separated by a comma. So a string concatenation.
Kishan, is
Yeah.
double underscore is a method or initializer?
It is a method, not an initializer.
Okay.
But
Initializer will have init, right?
initializer will have init, and at this dunder, the double underscore add double underscore is not a complete method. It's not an initializer for sure. It is not a method. So it is having some deviation in the properties where it is used mostly for inheritance. And when you declare a method with double underscore, you cannot access this particular double underscore in other codes. It is confined only to these properties, to this class. It's a private method, we can say.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So these are some string operations I thought of putting it in here. So it is like single quote, double quote, triple quote, for accessing. And then these are the string methods, I can say. So I need to discuss one thing here. A string is basically a list, nothing but it's a list in Python, but a confined list. Not even a confined list, it is almost equal to a list. So when you say A is equal to Harry, sorry, when you say A is equal to Harry, it means inside of this string method, we are doing nothing but creating a list, storing these elements in the list. I'll show you how. For I in A, don't ask me what it is. I'll tell you in a bit, in a bit of a moment. So if you say here print I, you're accessing each and every element for every iteration. So for example, I'll try out this one. A is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4 for I in A, print I. So this is a basic nature of a list. You can iterate through each and every element. Same is happening when
Is
you
it I keyword?
it's an iterator basically. So
Okay, we
for
need to
I
use
in
only I
A,
there.
no, we can use anything.
Anything, okay.
For Harry in A, print. So like this, and you don't really need to initialize this Harry at all. It's just an iterator. We'll come across it when we speak about iterators and iterations, methods involved in it, and like that.
Yeah, okay.
So if you observe the context here, a list is being created whenever we are trying to assign a string. So in the sense, whatever the operations that we can do for a list, all those operations can be done for a string. One such operations is this. If you have any idea about C language or a Java, while dealing with your list, we can slice the list. We can access only particular elements inside it. We can traverse through the list. We can traverse in a reverse way through the list, like that. So, for example, I'm going to compare these two in such a way that you will be understanding more easily. A is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So I want to print only the elements after first element. So first element in the sense, basically your list starts with 0 index, the indexes of it, 0, 1, 2, 3. So when you say A of 0, it means, oh sorry, A of 0, it means you're hitting the first element. A of 1, you're hitting the second element, like that. So if you want to access length of A, it'll be 4, right? So you can do -1, it means you're hitting the fourth element. This is just like a reverse traversal. For, let us say,
Kishan, why they started from 0 instead of 1?
yeah, exactly, that's a good question. It's not it doesn't have anything to do with Python, but again it's actually a in-depth question where data structures and algorithms are needed. So for every list, this is actually started by the godfather of C. He's nothing but I don't remember now his name, uh, or whatever. So for a list, the index can be started from 1. Everyone thought that, but then if we start from 0, something happens. Okay, I'll explain it. So there is something called RAM. Let us say that this is RAM. This is your HDD, a magnetic storage basically. And then this is your Intel chip integrator, I mean the processor. So whenever you want to store something in your list 1, 2, 3, 4 inside your RAM, you will store 1 2 3 4, and then whenever you want to perform an addition operation or appending operation, or let us say you can just add it, but whenever you want your Intel processor or any processor can know only three things. One is addition, the other is subtraction, and the other is shifting, which comes to place when you talk about multiplication and division. Other than these three operations, it cannot do anything. So when it comes to shift, it means when it comes to multiplication or division or any other operations related to shift, if you have to access a shift for an array, it will be like traversing. Let us say a of 0 needs to traverse to a of 1. There is a shift that needs to happen, right? So it's always like 0 plus the shift value. If you declare, this is how Intel processor takes, any other processor takes. So it's like just plus shift. If you declare index as 1, you have to nullify that index 1. It means basically minus 1 plus shift, your shift, to traverse it. There is one other IO operation called subtraction that is happening. So in order to overcome that subtraction operation, it started in C. That's why where we start everything with 0 when it comes to index. Did I answer your question?
Okay. Okay.
We'll discuss about it in more detail in by practical example when you clearly understand all these data structures.
Yeah, no problem.
Did you understand the shift concept?
Yeah, Kishan.
Okay, fine. So we'll come back to it later if it or not.
It's basically we are doing one more IO operation
Yes,
construction. That's
exactly.
why we started with 0.
Yes.
Okay.
So that improves our time complexity also. And then when it comes to string operations, there is something called substrings we can use. If you see here, s of 1 colon 4, it means the starting point is 1, ending point is 4. So when you say 0th index, it is 0, first index, it is 1. So the initial limit that you declare here will be omitted, but the final destination index that you declare here will be included. It means this indexed element, I mean the starting of this substring starts after this initializer, I mean this initial index. When you declare 1, it starts from 2, second index, 0 1 2, right? So the output is 2 3 4 5. Oh, sorry, I was actually confused. So let us see.
Kishan, it is from the first index, Kishan.
Yeah. First index will be taken out, and the last index will be wiped out.
Yes.
Yep. So it is the list. So list of 1 colon is nothing but you're getting indexes after first index. So a of 1 colon 3. In the sense, what you need to get, first index is 2, second index is 3, third index is 4. So 4 is wiped out. So your final stage index will be wiped out, the limit, and the initial index will be included. I hope you understood it. So when I say this, what will you get? You'll get only
The entire list from back.
no, that will not be the case. Okay, I'll have to discuss this again. So if you say here, what you are doing, initializer and finalizer, you did not declare it at all. So when whatever we are saying here, a of minus 1, you basically understood it, right? Colon whatever declared here will be the initial point, and this will be the final point. So what is minus 1 here? 4. What else is left after 4? Nothing. So what will you get here? Nothing, because minus 1 is plus 4. starts over there, where no element is present. Basically, you got it right.
Hey,
Yeah,
some disturbance is coming, it seems. Yeah, fine.
yeah. So that's about string slicing operations.
Hey, can you go to -1, -2?
Yeah, sure. So,
Here, what is -2?
okay, let's ask this thing itself. So, -1, -2, -3 is there, right? So, when you're traversing through the list in a forward direction, this will be 0, 1, 2, 3. When it comes to 1, 2, 3, 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 indexes. So, when it comes to reverse traversal, your 4, the last element will be -1. 3 will be -2, 2 will be -3. Like that.
Yeah,
-1,
then
-2,
why
-3.
output is not came
Yeah.
there?
Okay. So A of colon is there, right? It means your start element is not declared, your end element is not declared. So it is taking everything. So you might have understood whatever you declare on left side of column is start element. Whatever you declare right side of column is end element. The traverse is between start element and end element, right? The traverse is always on the right side, rightward. So when you declare -1, it is 4, -2, it is this one, which is this way, left hand shifting, right? Leftward traversal. But the traversal of array is always on the right side, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to traverse in the reverse way, you the only way you need to do is by taking an iterator like a for loop and then increment the decrement the value. So for example, if you want to traverse it like this for I in range then of a. Sorry, what is a? It is there, right? Okay. So basically, you need to do a reverse iteration. What we can say here is okay. Okay. I have to declare some more variable with length of a for I in range C. Uh, my bad. So print a of I. C is equal to C minus 1. What I'm doing here is I'm allocating C as length of A. It means 4. For I in range C in the sense 0 to 4 it is. Okay. We'll just have to implement a reverse iterator. We'll come back to it later. So how to iterate in reverse way?
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, okay. Can you give A of -2 colon -1? Will it give 4, 3, right? -2, -1.
So what we are doing here is we are initializing our value to -2, which is this. There is a way across here, right? A right side traversal.
Hmm.
So that's why we got 3.
Okay, okay, fine.
Yeah. And yeah. These are some other things that is worth having a glance over when it comes to list. Same operations can be shared over a string and list. And then, yeah, these are the string methods by default that were declared. So find method is something which finds whatever the declared value and it returns the index of it. I mean, the first occurrence of that. So we can just play around with this. I'll share this PPT in my GitHub. You can just download it. So what if you have to find a particular value which is repetitive? You can use this function where I need to find a dot at if you say 10 here, let us see. Basically, not to more explain it more, I would prefer this one. If you see here, there are a lot of operations. Yep. Find is, you need to specify the substring, I mean the value that you need to find, and then start and end index. If you don't give start, if you give only one index, it will take as end, where in which our case it is 10. So till 10th index itself, it will find. If at all it is having some value inside the 10th index, it will return. These are the arguments that we can pass inside that find string. So you can always refer to this, how it is actually working. There is something called map, is all num. These are not all not have up. This did not appear in a single day. They were all adding out till today, where there is a requirement of string operations of this kind. You can just always explore it. And split, you can split the string using a delimiter. So these are some special operators for string which is not available in most of the other languages, like br in, rather, in the sense it will directly find it out instead of writing a for loop and iterating through each and every index. You can just use in operator. And then you can use something called a dot format. This is nothing but a peculiar way of printing the data types. It means if you see a traditional C program, your print statement will have only percentile Ds for printing an integer value, percentile C to print a char value, like that. You can always use this curly braces and format name. It means my name is whatever the name you're having, you'll be getting it. This is just a decorator, I mean for a decorating purpose, not a decorator in oops again, don't go into that. So it is just another way of printing elements. So this is another special operand that is worth that we actually commonly use while we are coding with Python in real time. So strip function, R strip and L strip. It is like, for example, you're having some different source systems, which is a common scenario where you need to fetch the data. In a simple case scenario, let us assume a railway station. You need to book a ticket, a railway ticket. How will you do? Maybe you using an Android phone, an app available, or maybe web browser. Maybe you use Windows. In that, you maybe use Chrome, or maybe I use Mac. Like that, there are several different sources available to book a ticket. So the context here is your Chrome extension may have different encoding technique to send your data to the servers, because it may have its own privacy policies. Your Safari may have its own privacy policies, which may send your data, the info, to the server in a separate encoding encapsulation. So all those records, if you book a ticket, you'll be one record, you'll be registered as a one record in your database of IRCTC, right? So that may be with different encoding techniques.
So you need to really strip it off all the extra characters if at all your encoding is not compatible with the encoding that whatever that database application maintainers are maintaining. So we can always expect special characters from a different data sources. Those special characters can be stripped away straight away using these strip functions. R strip is used for stripping to the right, EL is for left. And these are some other string operations. Starts with in the sense, if at all you're having a very large data and you want to find something which starts with C, you'll get it. So believe it or not, it is even more efficient than far more efficient than the algorithms and such techniques that are in the market. So they have taken the optimized and logic for searching, and then they have made it as class again, and then they have this dunder called starts with. And one pretty much good thing we have about Python is, for example, you're having some 1 million data, let us say integers. You need to sort them according to their data nature. So you need to analyze your data first. Then you need to take what sorting technique you need to use, maybe a bucket sort, or you need to use some other sorting algorithms which demand best time complexity, merge sort or quick sort, or whatever it is. So dynamically, by understanding the nature of data, there are 4 sorting techniques available in Python which are dynamically assigning for the sorting techniques. Also for search techniques, linear search, binary search. If it is a very less data, linear search is okay for us. So it will dynamically choose Python. So that is one the beautiful feature for Python. So it is always recommended to use the default functions like start with and end with instead of uh, using your brute force techniques like iterations or stuff like that. I hope it's clear for you. And this is something called a join operator to join two strings with a separate with a comma, and then upper will change it to uppercase. Capitalize will capitalize the first letter of a string. So yeah, this is something worth notable behavior of a string. When you see here, yes is equal to Andrew. I did here, whatever I did here is yes of 0 is equal to a. Okay, perfect. So when I try to do this, I'm unable to do it. Why?
It is small a, right?
Yeah, okay. I'm going to explain that. No, whatever we have declared is small a, Andrew. But what I'm trying to do here is s of 0 is equal to capital A. It means I'm trying to assign the 0th index of this Andrew.
Strings are immutable, right?
Yes, exactly. That is the point. So we cannot replace the existing index with anything. But here is the interesting phenomenon. Every string is considered as a list which is mutable, but string is immutable. So it means it inherits all the properties of list, but still it is immutable. So in order to achieve this capital A here, I need to use capitalize, or I can just use this. Just using this thing in the sense, yeah, I'm basically constructing a new string totally. So this is some other case study that's worth taking a look at it in order to understand more about mutability and immutability. Yep. So this is for special chars. Slash. It means when it comes to slash, I'll have to come back again. a question was raised like print yours uh, blah blah blah, right? For this, in order to overcome, we use double quotes, right? We can also use this one, the escape character. So this is just like another escape character that we use in other languages to escape the actual properties, and slash n uses for new line, tab is used for, as slash t, like any other regular expression we have. So it comes to the topic of lists. I think we need to practice more on what we have covered so far, before we begin with the lists and stuff. So just go through the concept till strings, whatever we have done, the operations that we have inside strings. We did not even enter into the loops. Our concept, our agenda now is we will finish off with these data types in detail. After proper understanding and analysis, only then we will actually go into our coding techniques, like how to enter into loops, how to deal with them, how to deal with iterators, how to deal with generators and stuff like that. We also have to see this stack implementations and implementing queues. This is a bit not a basic level thing, so we need to concentrate, focus more on this. So I would recommend you to start off in the next class. So any more doubts till now?
Hey, Kishan,
Kishan, what
can
you
you
spoke,
repeat?
I can't hear that.
Sorry.
Yeah, just a 1 minute. We lost audio.
Oh, okay. So what I'm saying is, we're going to explore in detail about the data types, basic data types. After we get the correct understanding of those, only then we will go into how to do programming actually. So we will deal with the loops and different techniques to iterate, reverse iterate, iterate with some gap, and stuff like that. And what I want you to do is, you need to have a correct grip over string operations till string, whatever we have done. So just in case of any doubts, just let me know now. And you always have this one here. I'll show you this. Yeah, you can go ahead and hit github.com/harry1180, which is my repository. In that,
You can ping this in
yeah, sure, I'll
our
ping this.
WhatsApp.
So this is our Git repository and the GitHub URL, and in this there are two repositories. This is for Python basics, which is we currently dealing with, and web scraping is some advanced thing. Just leave about it. So when you enter into this Python basics, you'll always have. I used to give the task which will earn you some bounty, like whoever does it will be given some perks like that in order to make programming interesting. So you can also access this programs where you'll sorry yeah, all these tasks, I'll just upload the basic tasks for us. I'm just not able to find the name of the file. Yeah, this is the one. So I would just recommend you to start off with this task. This is just for beginners. You can start solving this only when you have a hands-on on this. We can assure ourselves that this course is valuable, because what happens in the other institutes or something like that is they just give you the knowledge and go off, give you the knowledge, go off. They'll not even come back to the previous one. So let us not do that way, because everyone's time is valuable, right? So I would recommend you to just start doing this, analyzing this.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
any more doubts?
Sure. Okay. are good, I think.
Very good, Kunjal.
Is this PPT available in that repository, Kishan?
Yes, this PPT is available in the repository along with the other PPTs as well. The name of this PPT is Introduction to Python. And I'll also share you the course content. We have taken a lot of time to prepare it in depth, and like I said, by going a level down, what a naive user who is actually new to Python, what it takes to him to understand everything, we have embedded everything in here. So I'll be sharing you this as well.
So once we have an update about the other guys also, we can just uh, start off in a more serious fashion. So for the next class, we'll be discussing for a while about the tasks, if at all you are stuck anywhere. And then we'll start off with the lists and other data types.
Yeah, okay.
If no more doubts, we can wind up.
Yeah, for now, no doubts.
Kishan,
Yep.
is these documents are in repository or not?
These documents are not yet uploaded into the repository. I'll just upload them. I'll let you know.
Okay.
So we can wind up the session here.
Yeah, you can share the meeting link, recording link.
Yeah, I'll do that. And this URL I want to give to you, right? So this is the link.
Uh,
This is the link you can access, but unfortunately you cannot clone it because of my security issues. You can only download the repositories.
okay.
Yeah, because I need to share you a SSH key, which I cannot do it right now.
Okay.
Fine then. See you guys.
Yeah.